Hello, I'm doing a little Tabletop Simulator Infinity tutorial for some Cascadia guys, just trying to get stuff figured out. I figured I'd start with step 0 and uh, show you how to get Tabletop Simulator briefly, install the module that is Infinity onto Tabletop, and then get a server started. Yeah, so I'm in Steam right now. If you don't know what Steam is, use Google. It's a little game platform. It's got a store on it that you could buy Tabletop Simulator, and I believe that's the only way to get Tabletop Simulator. I'm not 100% on that, but I couldn't find it anywhere else. So open Steam up, go in a little search thing, do Tabletop Simulator. It's going to be this first one. I already have it. There should be, yeah, there's like a buy option here, and you can install it yourself, and then it'll pop up in your library. This is the important part. So you're in your library, you go to Tabletop Simulator in your game section here. That we're going to install Infinity, or we're going to subscribe to the Infinity mod, I believe is the language they use. So yeah, select Tabletop Simulator, go over to this workshop over here, and it'll have this page, and I just search in this bar up here, Infinity, the game. Hit enter, and boom, stuff's popped up. The first one on my screen, I'm not necessarily sure it'll be the first on yours, is Infinity the Game, Corvus Belli. That's the one we want. That's the base mod. That's all you need to play Infinity on Tabletop Simulator. There are actually many other options in here. Some people have 3D models. Some people have maps. I believe the second one I have right here is Why Rock No Dies map collection. Yeah. But anyways, all you need is this first one. To subscribe to it, you'll see I have a little checkbox here. You'll have a green plus. So if I go over to this bits and pieces bit, there's a green plus. You just click on that. That's all you need to do. It'll tell you you're subscribed. So now you can start up Tabletop Simulator. I'm going to start it from Steam. You can start it from the desktop if you have that set up. And it's going to take a second. It's going to do that splat. Yep, that one. Ooh, it occurs to me that I might have my sound on the wrong option for you guys to hear what I hear. Not that that's horribly relevant, but okay. This is the main menu, Tabletop Simulator. You're given two options, either create a game or join a game. If your buddy is setting up the server, you go to join. You could type in the default one I use is PS_infinity, and it'll pop up here. You could double click on it or click it and hit connect. There's some other options here, hide locked, hide full, friends only type thing. And you could join that way. That's the way I've joined all of my games. You can, if they're your Steam friend, join through Steam via right-clicking on their name in the chat, and I haven't done that one, so I'm not 100% on that, but it is possible. People have done it. Yeah, so this server doesn't exist, obviously. I haven't created it yet. So, or I've created it, but I've since killed it, and they delete servers pretty quickly. So I'm going to create a server, and there are three options here. Obviously, single player. It's actually not a bad way to get used to the game. It's just clicking single player. It works exactly the same as multiplayer, except for you don't have to push as many buttons to start a server. Hot seat works just like single player, but there's like a, I think there's like a black mode in between, so you could like switch seats. I don't know. Never done hot seat. Multiplayer is where all of it's at. Either that or joining. So server name, server type, server password, max players. I normally rock 4. You only should need 3, but sometimes people want their friends to come in and watch. So I just leave it at 4. I always use, not always, often use ps_infinity for my server name. Server password, I'm just using the same thing. And I put a password just to avoid random people dropping in. Not that that's been a problem, but avoid it if you can, right? Create server. It'll take a second, and it's going to ask you what game you want to start. Infinity of the game, Corvus Belli should be an option under your workshop. If for some reason you have a bunch more here and it's not your first option, you could click on the workshop icon here and it'll show more, and you can search if that's really a big button or really a big issue. So yeah, from either of those, you just click on it, click load, and it'll set it up and bring you to this default view here. To look around, there's a few different ways to do it. I primarily use the mouse almost exclusively. So I have a 3-button mouse with the scroll wheel and all. Scroll wheel does what you'd expect, zooms in and out. The standard button, the left click button, is the select or interact with. So if you don't have anything here, it'll just do a selection box. This dice here is an object. It's just so if you click it, it'll pick it up. If you click and hold, it'll stay picked up, and you could kind of move it around. What's kind of cool about Tabletop Simulators, they've done a lot to make the physics semi-realistic, so you could actually pick up and throw a dice, and it'll roll, and it'll tell you what it lands on. So if we zoom in on that says 5, and I hover over it, it also says 5. Pretty cool. That is not how I roll dice in Infinity. They have their own little spot over here, and I'm going to put it back, and it's going to put it right in the center. I don't know if you saw that, but it goes right in the center. You can see I'm dragging the screen around with the mouse. You can middle click to do that. So if you have a mouse with the scroll wheel and you could click down on the scroll wheel, that's how I normally move around. Alternatively, you could do ASDW, standard first-person shooter stuff, and it'll pan around. If you want to change the angle you're looking at, you can right-click and hold and drag, and it'll give you different angles. If for some reason you can't do that, the arrow keys do the same thing. So, yeah. But like I said, most of my movement is done via the mouse, just because that's what's easiest for me. Laptop people might get more use out of arrow keys. Yeah, so let's get a pretend game started, right? First thing we'll need, is a map. Pretty important in Infinity, right? So I'm going to go back to the standard. I'm going to hit spacebar here, and that just takes you to your default camera angle. You can change that. I'm not going to get into that here. But this is the default for the Infinity of the game. So if you if you are in the default standard thing, you haven't picked a color. We'll talk about colors in a second. This is your default view. Off to the right is some kind of random stuff over here. The map specific stuff is right here. Okay, so I'm going to go look at that using my nifty mouse. And if you zoom in, you can see it's got a little note card here. It tells you how this stage, which is what this is called, works. But the main thing is that in these two boxes here, there are maps. So the first box is just your standard 4-foot by 4-foot. The other one is code 1. And I've never actually looked into this, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to right click this, go to search, and it'll open everything here. And if you hover over it, it'll give you whatever the title is. And this one's a 15-point Plaza Code 1, 25-point, 15-point Shopping, 25-point. So yeah, they've got a couple of maps in here. 2 maps at 2 different points. So I'm going to go to the 4-foot ones, go to search. There's only 6 in here. There's intro table, looting and sabotaging, ice map, comm center, roadway, and this one that doesn't have a name for some reason. I'm just going to grab this intro table, click and drag. It's going to, if I put it on the black table that's right here, it'll just put it on the table. It's just a bag. You hover over it, it says set underscore intro table. So there's no reason to put it on the table. I was just kind of showing what would happen if you did. So you generally just put it directly on this stage. If you did put it on the table on accident, like your aim was bad or you wanted to look at it, you got to be careful not to just click and drag it super fast, because this bag is full of, it looks like 87 pieces, right? So most of the times when these are also boxes, right? The boxes act like bags. If you click real quickly and pull something out, it'll just pull the first thing out. So this looting and sabotaging, if I did that, it pulls out this box that was in looting and sabotaging, and it's locked, so it's not going to go anywhere. But in order to move the bag, you click and hold until it pops up, and then you can move it over here onto the stage. Actually, I'm going to put it down real quick and zoom out so we can see the table and see what happens. So putting it on the stage, it doesn't really matter. Get as close to the center as you'd like. But yeah, it doesn't matter if it's perfect. It'll figure out where to go. And it just, boop, loads it up. And we could go over here, and we have ourselves a map. You could look at the different maps that they've got. Yeah. So you've got a map. Now you need units. Alrighty then. So on the other side are where all the units are. Let's talk about colors real quick. I've noticed so you'll notice red is one side, blue is the other. So people will often do the lieutenant role first, and before lieutenant role comes the classifieds, right? I'm getting slightly distracted here, but that is okay. Going back to the standard view, there's the map here still. The deck that's right here is 20 cards. It's your classified deck. There's a copy paste of it on the blue side, right? So you can go ahead, and some people will pick a color first. So you click your name, go to change color, and you pick a color. Now I'll zoom out a bit and pick red because it's kind of hard to see. So now I am the red player. And what that means mostly is that I could see into these red boxes. I can't see into these blue boxes. We know there's nothing in them, but I can't see into them right now. Sorry. So there's a box here. There's a similar box in blue, and we can't see it. So that's neat. For classifieds, I think standard procedure is these should be pre-shuffled, FYI. But I see a lot of people shuffle them before they draw anyways. If you want to do that, just hover over it, hit R. R is for roll normally. It'll roll a dice, but it'll also shuffle a deck. Do it a bunch of times, do it no times, it doesn't matter. You draw your 2 cards for your classifieds, and you'll see I brought them straight into my red box here. That's so when I flip it with F, by the way, the blue player can't see what I've got. So if I scroll in, I can read it, but you don't have to scroll in. You can just hover over it, hit Alt, and it'll bring it up nice and big for you to read. Honestly, it's kind of too big, but for me anyways. It's like, blam, card. You can do that with any object, like this lieutenant token, the dice. It'll show you what it's landed on, the map, and it gets kind of crazy if you do it too much. Yeah. Alternatively, what you can do, instead of drawing them over there, let's put them back in. You don't normally put the cards back in, but I'm just going to do it to show how I normally do it. Instead of putting it into that box, I put it into my hand, which can be done by dragging it to the bottom of the screen. And now it's in my hand. And you could still do the Alt thing. Predator, yes please. So I want to pick Predator, so I will take... My experimental drug's not going away. That's weird. Normally I can just drag it out of my hand here. I don't know why that's not working right now. Anyways, your hand is also hovered over the edge of the table, and the opponent can't see, like if I switch to blue right now, all he sees, or she, are these black cards, right? He can't really see anything about them. He'll switch back to red, and there they are. And if I want, I can flip them over and drag them back out from this little hand space that's kind of off the edge of the table. Okay, I've got my classifieds. The other person has his classifieds. It's lieutenant roll time, right? So this is the dice roller. It's pretty straightforward. 1 is the number of dice you're rolling. Plus and minus adds to that number. So if I wanted to roll 5 dice, click the plus sign 4 times to get up to 5. Sweet linked HMG. And then you just click the number and it'll roll 5 dice. Those numbers will be ordered and then put in the... They came up right here and they come up in the chat. So I'm going to do that again real quick. They come up kind of right in the middle up top here. And they come up in the chat. And then they will disappear after a short while. Yeah, so you do your lieutenant roll. 10. Woo! I'll pick table sides and I'll pick this side because I'm lazy. Oh, you'll also notice with the dice roller, it always resets back to 1. It's a design choice they made. They could have had it stay at whatever you had it set last, but that is fine. Clear. What does clear do? Oh, yeah, if you roll a bunch and they're there and they're annoying you for whatever reason, you just click clear and they go away once they've stopped rolling. Yeah, so dice rolls, cards, units, right? We were talking about units and I got distracted by colors. So the idea behind these secret zones is you can go to your box. Let's say I'm Toha. I'm going to right click and go to search. I don't think there's a better way to do this, but that's how I normally do it. And you could still move around while the box is open on the right hand side. So I normally open the box and then go to my little red box over here. You can also do this in the big red box. I just normally go to the little red box. And let's say I have a Sukil and a sweet Gaurail because everybody loves those. You'll notice that the Galrail has 2 options, and the Sukil only had the 1 option. Like if I look for Sukil, it'll be gone now. There's nothing there. That's because we took it out of the box and it's currently on the table. Galrail has 2 options, the Sniper and the Spitfire. I'll grab Spitfire. I actually like the Spitfire better. I'll grab both of them so you can see the difference. So I think primarily he's gone off what art is available. And yeah, so I'm just rotating them. I'll show you how to do that in a second. If you know Toha at all, you'll know the Sukil has quite a few different profiles. It's got a K1 combi, it's got a missile launcher, it's got an HMG, it's got others. You could tell which 3 I use the most. But yeah, Galrail similarly has other profiles. So they've got the Spitfire and the Sniper. You're going to have to proxy to get the boarding shotgun. You're going to have to proxy to get the combi rifle adhesive launcher. So what you do for proxying, let's say I want this guy to be a boarding shotgun instead. Right click on it, and the description's down here. It says MSV2 Spitfire. Let's change the Spitfire to say boarding shotgun. So I click here, and we're in the text menu now. You can see that this says BF. That's just, here, let me click out real quick. If I hover over, you could kind of see that the Galrail name is gray, whereas everything else is white. The BF in here is just the hex code to make it gray, and it ends at this little dash. You don't need to worry about that too much. So I clicked on the MSV2. I'm using the right arrow to scroll over a bit, and I'm going to delete Spitfire and type BSG, because I know what that means. My opponent will know what that means, and I click off. Normally, that's all I do if I'm playing a quick game. If I'm playing in like a tournament or something where I don't want someone to... Whoops, I missed the red box for these guys, so they would know I have Galrail snipers. Anyways, that's, if they hover over it, it'll say boarding shotgun. If they hover over it longer, it'll come up with more stats, and they can see that it says Spitfire there. To fix that, you would just right click it and change it in the second one. Boarding shotgun. Not normally too big an issue. Really depends on who you're playing. Okay, so similarly, the Sukil just has an X. They don't even have anything, so just give this guy the H. Let's give him the K1 combi forward observer. Combi for FO. So in this weapon here, I could do K1 combi, and in special skills is what that stands for. Put forward observer. And click outside, and now when they hover over it, it's mildly correct. I think I forgot D charges, but that's fine. If you have more than one Sukil, right, there was only one in there, you're going to copy and paste it. Now, I don't actually know how to do this without Control-C, Control-V, right? You could right-click on it and go to copy here. Oh, you could go to clone. And it'll just keep dropping stuff. Okay, I didn't know that was an option. So if you're using... I'm going to hover over these and hit the delete key because I don't need 5 Sukils. So you could right-click, go to clone, and then it'll show you this grade option. You just normal click, and it'll give you a clone of that original selection. I hit escape key to get out of that. Select all these guys and delete them again. What I normally do is I just hover over it, hit Control-C for copy, and then put my mouse somewhere else and hit Control-V. Same thing, just used to Control-C, Control-V. Alrighty. You've got your dudes, you're ready to deploy them. I'm going to select them all here with the box and click one just to pick them all up. That's a triad right there. Cool. Okay, so you want deployment zones, you say, because you need to know where your guys can go. We're pretty sure the Tsukio can't go over here, right? But we need to be more specific than that. Go to Options, Grid, and click the Show Lines here. These obnoxious green lines come up. They are 4 inches by 4 inches, and that's good enough for everything that's in N3, right? You could do Power Pack, which it would be 3 squares by 4 squares. You could do standard deployment. You could do forward deployment. You could do infiltration, all that jazz. Yeah, so we can now see if we're doing standard 12-inch deployment that my K1 Combi FO can go right here, for example, and be fine. Let me zoom in a bit because he's over the line, right? Boop. There we go. And that's a terrible placement for a K1 Combi, right? So let's hide him a little bit. Let's say we want to put him prone. Off to the right of the dice roller, there are these standard states. Let me zoom in a bit. Pretty self-explanatory. They got marksmanship, stunned, prone, suppression fire, wounds, impetuous, irregular, mines, and stuff. So if I want that guy to be prone, I just pull out a prone marker. Just click and pull, right? It's an infinite bag. It works the same way all other bags do, except for it's only got 1 item, and you can pull it as much as you want. Yeah, so I got a prone token, throw it over here on the Tsukio. Let's get Gaurail going. Let's get the Gaurail sniper up here. They're facing dumb directions, aren't they? They're both facing off to the left according to their firing arc. So if you want to rotate a dude, hover over them. You don't have to select them. You can, but hover over them, hit E or Q. E will do clockwise, Q will do counterclockwise, and you can adjust your facing. So let's get the Tsukio looking a direction that makes a little bit of sense. Gaurail sniper. Sniper, no sniping. Have him go up to this corner here. Oh, he fell over. Let's put him. He fell over again. So if you're having issues putting guys up next to walls, that's pretty common. It's kind of one of the more finicky things in Tabletop Simulator. You'll get more used to just placing them decently with practice, but what I do anyways, even if I'm decent, I never can get right up against it. So if I put my guy kind of close, right there, that's not a problem. If I want to get him right in that corner, what I do is I start away from him, and see my mouse is away from him. I hold N. You'll see the little hand, like a little clenching thing, and I'll slowly move that. N is for nudge. I'll slowly move the nudge hand, whoops, and of course I went super fast, towards him, and it'll start nudging him towards a direction. And I can just get him right in that corner there. And now he's facing the wrong way again, but now if I just rotate him, he'll stay in that spot and be fine. So now he's got this sweet, sweet firing lane. And the boarding shotgun guy. I want to put him in this building, right? Gaurails are medium infantry, so they have forward deployment. That's why he's there. If I want to go inside this building, you can see it says 2 out of 2 when I hover over it. That means it's in state 2 out of 2 states. So if I want to change its state to state 1, I hit the 1 button on the numbers bar, not on the numpad. The numpad doesn't work. So it's the numbers that are directly above where you're typing. You hit 1, and it'll go to the first floor. And you'll see there are walls in here. And now I can place this Gaurail inside the building. And I can nudge him where I want. Right there. and have him look this way. I'm going to copy and paste this prone marker, and so he's hard to see, right? Now, something you have to be a little careful, you'll see that his buddy is hovering over nothing right now. If you accidentally nudge this guy, he will fall down through the floor like that. See? He fell down. So you gotta be a little careful of that. Standard way of handling that is, sorry, I keep looking down. I don't know where my end key is, and I've got it in a difficult to see location. Anyways, so he's up on the roof. I don't want him to fall. Standard operating procedure is hover over him so he's highlighted, hit the L button, and that will lock him. Now you got to be careful when locking, because that is how all of the objects that make up the map are. So when I hover over him again to unlock him, again by hitting L, he will become highlightable, pick-upable, and all that. When he's locked, which I just did again, I can't move him. I can't move him. If he's up here and this gal rail's beneath him and I pick up this gal rail, nothing bad happens. Whereas if I unlock him and then put this gal rail under him, yeah, it'll trigger it like that. But the reason I say you got to look out is if you accidentally unlock the building he is on. I just hit L over the building, and now you see if you put your mouse over it, it just highlights the whole building. This is indicating that this building is unlocked. You can interact with it. I could have very easily just pick up the building and throw it across the map on accident, and suddenly the game's a little messed up. So this is one of the ways it's finicky. If you do that on accident, you can do undo, which I just use Control Z, right, to undo. It'll put you back to the default view. You might have to do it a couple times. I did it once, I just did it again, and now it's back. Oh, still not good. One more time. It's just doing time skips back. Oh, and that just flung my guy way over there. Am I going to have to keep doing this? I might have broke the map. Okay, there it goes. Phew. So yeah, gotta watch out when locking and unlocking things, because buildings can get moved around. So can if you can unlock the entire map underneath, etc., etc. So just be careful with that. It's useful for multiple buildings, but yeah. So buildings have states. The units, the models have states too. So this, let me pull a Pano guy to get standard behavior. So I got a trauma dock here, right? Here, let me kill the grid. Options, grid, boop. Okay, so we got a trauma dock here, right? If I need to see if this trauma dock can see, let me put a sniper way over here. You can see the sniper. It's pretty obvious they could probably see each other, right? But let's imagine they can't. We want to pull silhouettes out. So I just hover over the trauma dock. It also has those states, right? Where it says 1/2 right next to trauma dock. You hit 2, and on most units, that'll be a silhouette, right? So now you can move your view around to try and see if they can see them. Now the reason I pulled out a Pano guy is because my Toha guys have 3 states, right? The second state is inactive symbiote armor, and their stats change a little bit, and then the third state is their silhouette. Now this is important because if you look at this boarding shotgun guy, remember how he changed all this stuff? If I go to 2, we didn't change the stats on his second profile, so watch out for things that have multiple states like that. So low-tech guys, symbiote armor, the transformation guys, etc., etc. Okay, back to vision. So put this guy in the far end into silhouette, put this guy into silhouette, and we can see if we can see each other. Cool, we can. Blam blam. Shoot all things. Okay. So let's pretend I'm ready to go and start my turn. I have to deal with orders, right? These are the standard order trackers. They start at 10 and 6. I don't know why 6, but there it is. You just click on them. Standard click to make it go down. Right click to make it go up. You use those to keep track of your orders. If you have need for an additional combat group, that is going to be in one of these boxes on the left. I believe it's the gray one over here. So right click, search, group 3. It's not as aligned, right? You kind of have to just put it there. And you'll notice that this is highlighting, right? Whereas these aren't. That tells us it's unlocked. So if you just go to where it's highlighted, hit the L button, it should now behave similarly without you have to worry about, let me try and unlock it again, without you worrying about clicking it and accidentally moving it, right? And making it look drunk. Okay, there we go. Boop. If you have irregular and impetuous orders are over here. Lieutenant order, if you hover over this and hit F, it'll flip it. Command tokens work the same way. Objective points work the same way. Pretty self-explanatory. Moving, obviously. We need to move, right? So if I spend an order on my Sukiel right here, and I wanted to go after this trauma doc who somehow ended up over here, facing the right way, right? Whatever. So I want to, let's pretend I'm back here. I want to move and shoot, right? Now, I've been moving them around the whole time, right? Just clicking them, holding it, and moving. To measure things in Tabletop, you hold Tab. Tab will measure things. If you just hit Tab, it'll put an arrow down. This is good for pinging specific units. If it's out of your line of sight, it'll pop an arrow on the edge of the screen here. I don't know if you saw that. So look, this arrow right here. Yeah, that's because there's a pinging arrow over here. So useful if you're trying to get your opponent's attention to a specific model, or position, or what have you. So this is for measuring, holding Tab. If you want to measure and move at the same time, which you'll want to because doing this and then trying to remember where you were is a little tedious, you click the unit like you're going to move them, and then you hold Tab. And then you can measure 4 inches, and you can let go of Tab, and you'll still be holding them, and you can let go of the holding them, and they will drop. You could also let go of Tab second. It doesn't matter. If you do let go of Tab second, it puts you in ruler mode. You'll see my hand is now this ruler, and if I just click, it's just going to measure stuff. The way to get out of this mode is F1 is what I do, or on the far left in the upper right hand corner, this grab is the same thing, and you can see it's got a little F1 there. Maybe you can't, but in your own screen you probably could. Oh, that brings me up to the settings for measuring. I believe the defaults, so the measuring tool is F4. It's the fourth one over here. If you click it, you get into that ruler mode. But anyways, if you hover over it, the settings will come up. Inch, 3D, free, edge, no log. Those are my settings, right? 3D, free, edge, no log. I believe it might start on like 2D and auto. No. 2D and auto. Yeah, so that has a problem if you're, because it's just measuring 2D, right? It's just measuring on the map you started on. So definitely want to make sure it's 3D. Auto does this weird thing where you can see I haven't moved my guy at all, but he says he's an inch away. because it's measuring from the map to where he is now. So if you're using this auto measure, you're losing some movement is the reason why I do free. Auto is great if you're measuring between units. You hold tab, right? And you go from unit to unit, and you'll see it kind of locks against their edges and tells you how far apart they are. I wonder why I chose that edge. Anyways. But I'm almost always in, free mode over here. Because even though it doesn't lock on, it still measures in 3 dimensions, right? Because it's measuring up. If for some reason you don't want to measure in 3 dimensions, what I like to do is shift tab. This has an issue with Steam specifically. Steam has an overlay where if you use shift tab, it'll bring that up. So you have to mess with Steam settings in order to make it not do that. I have. So if I hold shift and tab, it actually measures the X distance and the Y distance separately. So I could see that this guy, for example, is in coherency because they're within 8 inches, right? Super helpful for that. But like I said, it takes some fiddling around with Steam, and I'm not going to get into that right now. It's not difficult, it's just I don't have it up right now. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything. You can move... Oh, if you're moving in not a straight line, right? Like if I'm going around this corner, if I started here and I wanted to go to like here. Click, hold, go here. I see that that's, 1.7. So I gotta do a little bit of math. I know, math's scary. But I let go of tab and hit tab again, and then just do the 2.3. This is another reason I don't like the auto. Because if I click this and hit tab, and go over here, and let go, and click it again, it's still measuring from my original point. So it's kind of hard to do corners. If you pick up a guy and move him, and you forgot to hit tab in the free mode, it's gonna measure from where you were, right? So you're like, shoot, where was I? As long as you're still holding the guy, if you hit escape, the escape key, it'll just send them right back to where they were. Okay, all right. I think that is enough to get started. I really hope the sound recorded on this because this is my second recording. First one, I didn't have the sound set up properly, so hopefully I have it correct on this one. If you guys have any questions, throw them on YouTube, throw them on Discord if you're in a Discord with me, throw them on Facebook if you got me on Facebook. I'm happy to help people out getting started with Infinity and Tabletop Simulator. It's been super nice to be able to play games during this crazy COVID time. Alright guys, I'm out. Thanks.